Comedians are used to getting heckled, but, you know, that usually happens at a comedy club where the audience has already exceeded their 2-drink minimum. So when a comedian hosts his own big-time TV show and hears something coming from the audience other than applause, it can catch him a little off guard. That's what happened last Friday night during a taping of HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher. It seems that some 9/11 truthers, as they like to call themselves, those who feel that September 11th attacks were orchestrated by the U.S. government, were in the audience, and they started shouting things. Eventually, Maher had enough.
See, this is the problem sometimes with government. Hey, do we have some security in this building? Or do I have to come over and kick this guy down out of here? Could you get the fuck out of my building? Hey, ouch. Jesus. This isn't the Iowa caucus, okay? It's not a debate. It's a debate between us. You're in the audience. Audience comes from the Latin, to listen.
Brace yourself, America. I agree with Bill Maher on this one. Anybody who thinks that 9/11 was carried out by the government isn't a truther. They're idiots. Can you actually imagine that our government was capable of successfully pulling off 9/11 and then keeping it off of the front page of the New York Times? No. But 12% of Americans are just dumb enough to believe that that's exactly what happened with the U.S. government taking down the World Trade Center, at least number 7. Actually, more Americans think that than think that Congress is doing a good job. I'm not kidding. These truthers are exactly the kind of people who want to rock this nation's foundation, tear us apart, and plant the seeds of dissatisfaction in all of us. Michael Shermer is a founding publisher of Skeptic Magazine and executive director of the Skeptic Society. And James Meigs, he is the editor-in-chief of Popular Mechanics. Let me start with you. Mike. Why are there so many of these people? We're talking 12% of the American people believe that we brought down World Trade Center number 7.
Yeah, well, that's the power of the internet, isn't it? The ability to rally the forces cheaply, actually practically for free. These guys produce this film online for almost nothing, and it's been viewed by millions of people. So that is the power of the media. Of course, this is America, free society. We're not going to start banning forms of media. We just have to counter bad ideas with good ideas, and that's what we do at Skeptic Magazine. And we lined up all of their claims in our special issue and knocked them down one by one, as did Popular Mechanics. And I think that's the proper way to do it. We have to remember that these guys actually believe what they say, not necessarily the 12% who maybe tick off a box that, yeah, maybe there's something to that. But the people that are leading the so-called truth movement, the ones I've met, they seem to actually believe it. So,
oh, no, don't get me wrong. I think they do believe it, and which is why I believe these guys are dangerous. I believe these guys are anarchists that are looking to tear us apart. I mean, this is the kind of group that a Timothy McVeigh would come from.
Yeah, that's right. That's what makes it a little bit scary. Somebody that would infiltrate a talk show like Bill Maher's show and then heckle him during the show. That's getting out there a little bit. That's not just posting things on the internet for fun to see what happens, but actually going down there to do something.
And James, if you Google right now 9/11, and this is where it really gets tough for our kids, if you Google 9/11, September 11th, what comes up?
You get about 160 million hits on 9/11, the vast majority of which are these conspiracy sites. And so I can imagine some high school freshman, maybe he's writing a paper and wants to research it, just being overwhelmed with this material, much of which looks authoritative. They have facts, they have figures, they quote people. So what we've done at Popular Mechanics over the last 3 years is really investigate some of the claims that come from the conspiracy side.
Well, you know what, James, let me start with you, and then Michael, go to you. What was the big claim, James, that you found that you said, okay, this is the big one, and it's so easy to refute?
Well, one of the ones that comes up a lot is the idea that there were bombs in the buildings and that a seismograph at Columbia University picked those up. Well, we called the scientists at Columbia and they said, our report says no such thing. It was totally taken out of context, yet if you go online, you'll see that come up again and again.
Okay, and Mike, what did you find that was the big thing that you tried to debunk?
Well, I think the most obvious one that anyone can check, they claim that the World Trade Center buildings fell exactly like buildings fall when they're intentionally demolished. And if you Google Google any keywords like intentionally demolished buildings or buildings, comma, demolished, whatever. You'll get hundreds of videos of buildings intentionally brought down. None of them fall like the World Trade Center buildings fell. They all fall from the bottom up, and the World Trade Center buildings fell from the top down. Basically, right where the planes hit is where they collapsed initially. So that one's easy to refute. Anybody can refute it. But the fact is, once it gets out on the internet, nobody fact checks. Nobody even looks that up.
So, James, is this? I mean, this is the same kind of thing. Charlie Sheen is a part of this. Rosie O'Donnell is part of this. Is this? Does this come from those guys? Who do we have any idea how this really took a toehold?
Well, it comes from a lot of different sources, and a lot of people who are looking into this, they're just curious. They have questions. That's fine. People should ask questions. They shouldn't believe everything they see or read. But when you start asking those questions, then you have to pay attention to the answers. And what the conspiracy people do is they reject the vast body of reasonable accounts of 9/11. They assume that's all just, you know, government plants or something. And then they seize on these few little anomalies that they think disprove the mainstream view. If you look at where a lot of the work originates, where the first things come out on the internet, some of them tend to be these political fringe sites, even some that are associated with Holocaust denial and other very fringe movements, and yet they're treated by much of the media as if they're somehow credible, that a quote from one of those sites is no different than something from the New York Times.